Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. My next guest on Conversations with Big Rich is Kelly Davis. Kelly and his brother Troy started Tuff Country Suspensions 35 years ago, built it into a successful business, and sold to a private equity firm, and now Kelly has purchased it back. We will be discussing Kelly's life, business, and future. Hello, Kelly Davis. It's great to talk to you. I'm really interested in all the news, the fresh news that's coming with you and getting your company back. But before we get into all that, we got to find out more about you. But I want to say thank you so much for agreeing to come on and being on the podcast.
Great, Rich. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride, but I appreciate you having me on your podcast, and looking forward to catching up. And thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, so let's start at the very beginning. And where were you born and raised?
Absolutely, born and raised in Utah. I'm a Utah guy. I left for a couple of years. I went and played college baseball back in Tennessee, but Utah's always been home, man. And it's born and raised.
All right, I got to ask, what position did you play?
I was a middle infielder, second
infielder.
Base and shortstop. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Quick reactions.
Had to be.
So let's go back. Yeah, let's
ahead.
go back to the very beginning and talk about those early years.
Yeah, so my dad, I guess we've always been off-road entrepreneurs, if you will. My dad was the original owner of Plaza Cycle, which was here in Salt Lake City, and now it's Carl Malone. Carl Malone bought it. My dad sold in the early 80s, but we got our entrepreneurship from Dad, and the off-road. So Dad actually goes back to racing against Roger DeCoster back in the old days in desert racing. So that's how far back we go. Yeah. And so basically I was raised in a motorcycle shop, basically, if you will. I used to ride Indians. It was an Indian 40. I learned how to ride a motorcycle before a bicycle. It had training wheels on it and everything. And then during the winter, we raced what they called the Arctic cats, but they called the baby cats. Well, we raced them because they were like 30 cc's, and so we've kind of just this is what we know. We've been raised around it, and my dad started an off-road shop in West Valley City. It's called Mr. 4x4, and that's taking you back to the early 80s, if you will.
And that was Mr. 4x4.
Yeah, it was spelled out Mister, and it was Mr. 4x4. And what happened is my dad was basically retired, if you will. He's 81 years old, still alive, and still works every single day on hot rods and cars. But he was smart back in the days. He bought a lot of property out in West Valley City, which was Redwood Road and about 3,500 south. And he kept buying all the dry farms up going west. And now that's kind of, pretty popular area. And so
it's all housing and businesses, huh?
Yeah. And he was crazy like a fox, and Dad had what everybody called him the Midas touch. Everything he did turned to gold. He also worked his butt off every day, But so Dad went to buy off-road stuff for my brother and I for Christmas. He went to buy. My brother had a '79 Toyota, and I had one of the first Suzuki Jeeps we brought over from Guam. Before they even were available here in the States. And he went to buy some accessories for him at an off-road shop. I won't give you the name. It's no longer here. It's no longer up, but he was just walked in to buy some parts, and it was like in November. And it was with my mom, and they both went in, and the place was a dump, if you will. And they were treated poorly. And my dad said, hey, I'd like to buy a bumper, for, this Toyota. And he was just treated poorly. They said, well, you should have been ordering that 2 months ago, and kind of, brushed him off. And my dad's kind of feisty, and I guess it kind of runs in the family. So my dad said, the guy said something. He goes, well, you're not going to buy anything? He said, no, I'm not. He goes, but what I am going to do is I'm starting an off-road shop, and I'm going to run you out of business. That's what he told the guy. And the guy says, why don't you send me an invitation to your grand opening? So it was kind of a, confrontational, but Dad did. He opened up an off-road store and ran him out of business about a year later. And
Nice.
We grew that place. Yeah, we grew it to like 4 stores. We had one in Idaho Falls, one there in West Valley City, one in Sandy, and in Ogden as well. So my brother and I ran the Ogden store. So we got up every morning and drove to Ogden. We'd load the van up and take the parts we had sold the day before. And basically, I guess I'll rewind a little bit. I was 20. I was 20, my brother was 22, and we went up to Ogden and we looked at a space. My dad said, what do you think? I said, yeah, I think it's a great location. I think it'll be good. He says, all right, well, we went up there, signed the lease, and my dad handed the keys to me, my brother, and said, swim or sink. I said, what? He said, swim or sink. It's up to you. You control your own destiny here. So we
Nice.
we swam, and we swam hard. We had to build the whole store from ground up because it was just a shell. And we laid flooring down, we built displays, we did everything we had to do to swim or sink, and kind of from there, I guess the rest is history. We that store up in Ogden was the biggest grossing store for a couple of years, and we used to buy Trailmaster suspension, which was around many years ago. I'm sure you probably remember the name,
yeah.
but it's been around forever. It's no longer here, but we used to buy like a truckload a month for our stores. We sold so much of it. And Troy and I looked at each other one day after, unloading this truck, and we said, quality was starting to go down, lead times are getting out there, and we just said, we can do better. I think we can do better than Trailmaster. And so we talked to my dad, and we started bringing in ad leaves and marketing them under our own name. We tried everything, man. Rich, we tried bug shields. We tried bikini tops. We made bug shields. We made bikini tops. We were just trying to see what could stick, We named it under the TCI was the name of the company then, and then it morphed later into Tuff Country Incorporated, which morphed into Tuff Country, and then morphed into Tuff Country Easy Ride Suspension. But so we started bringing stuff in, and suspension stuck. That was the thing that people wanted. And that was back in the, you got to figure that was the late 80s. So we officially spun off of there, sold, just told Dad we're going to do this. He says, great, you're going to need money. And we did. We didn't have any money.
Right.
So he was kind enough to give us a loan at 22% interest.
Oh, that's kind.
It was very kind of him. Yeah, it was very nice. He knew what he was doing, but what other choice did we have, right?
Right.
So by golly, we took it and ran, and it was just the two of us, and it grew, and we started backwards, Rich, if you will. We started in mail order, and back then it was truly mail order. You didn't have e-commerce, of course, of any type in the late 80s. So we officially started in January 1989. Is when we officially opened the doors at Tuff Country. And the customer, with a toll-free number, you call in, you didn't email, you didn't do anything, you called in off the toll-free number, and then we advertised a 3rd-page ad in four-wheel and off-road, and then JP, which was Jeep Magazine back then. And we waded the waters, we seen what worked, what fit, what people wanted, what they didn't want, and, I guess the timing's everything, back then people were really into, and I'm talking 10 and 12-inch lifts back in the day, when people
Oh,
were running
yes.
44s and all those good things. And we kind of had to find our niche, and Les Schwab Tire Center, which is one of our largest customers. I think they're close to 600 stores right now. And they came to us and because they had Trailmaster in their facility, and they had a falling out with Trailmaster, and they needed to fill the hole. And there wasn't a big category for them, so we started selling to them. Very gratefully. I mean, they're an incredible company, large, huge, and they came to us one day and said, hey, listen, we have a lot of snowplows up here in the Northwest, and this is like 90, 91. And he goes, we need and something to lift the front of the vehicle up, so when you put the plow on, it doesn't sag so much in the front. So we come up and we developed what we call a progressive spring pack that allowed you to put the weight on it, and it would pick the weight up when you needed it, and then when you had the plow off, it was off. Well, then they came to us and we said, well, we told them, I said, listen, the Dodges all sit low in the front. Could you use something in the front? And they said, yeah, we'd like to level them. We could put one size tire larger if we can, lift the front up and level the vehicle between the front and the rear. And that's where the leveling kit came from.
Right.
And we were the first to it too. We were the original, original people that invented the leveling kit. Now everybody has them, right? But then we were the original ones, and it all developed from just, you have a problem, then you have a solution, and that solution was just, and so we have a whole line, then we developed a whole line of leveling kits. At that time, everybody was doing 12 and 6, 12, 6, 14, 8-inch lifts, and we were just content to making leveling kits. We were doing 4 and 6-inch kits, but we weren't doing anything taller than that. And it really, helped put us on the map, if you will. And that just basically the roots, the grassroots, and something that my brother and I really felt was very important is we had to get active in the community, the off-road community. It's huge, and you got to connect with the people, right?
Yes.
I mean, look what you've done. Look what your son's done. I mean, you have to be with the people, and you have to be engaged, and it has to matter. And it's in our world, it's a lifestyle. It's an off-road lifestyle. And I tell people all the time, we're for a Moab, or for Sand Hollow, or wherever we're at. Where else would you rather be with your family?
Right.
Than on a Friday night, where else would you rather be, or a Saturday night? And so we really engaged with grassroots events all over the country, and that's where we get the connection, because it matters a lot to it mattered a lot to us to be engaged and active, and people know who you are, and so we continued all those years. We just continued to keep innovating, and trying to stay on top of things. And the competition came, and competition left, and a lot of people have came in our space, and a lot of people have made it, and a lot of people haven't. It's a difficult space, and it's got crowded at times. Suspension has been crowded at times, and sometimes got thin. So we weathered the storm with just what we believe is just treating people right, offering a quality product. And what's really important to us is USA made in the USA. Where a lot of the companies plain and simply haven't. They've gone overseas, and you've seen it.
They've tried to save a buck.
Yeah, exactly. And and sometimes we're not the lowest price, but we know that it's made in the USA, and a lot of it's made just here in West Jordan, Utah. And I'd say 70% of our products made right here in West Jordan, and that's important to us.
So let's go back to those early school years. With you and your brother, were you guys, who's Troy?
Yeah.
Were you guys, and you're the youngest, right?
I'm the youngest, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the age difference?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. And
Yeah.
so were you guys like good students, or were you always looking to go out and get on, the motorcycles and the snowmobiles, and you just kind of got by, or what?
Yeah, I was a get by guy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I stayed eligible. Put it that way.
Okay,
I was eligible to play the sports. Yeah, I was your typical stay eligible sports. I'd rather be playing sports or off roading or anything like that. That was just I think where that come from. Shouldn't say where that come from. But Troy and I obviously have an incredible bond. We're brothers, Irish twins, if you will, and our parents, like a lot of people do, they got divorced when we were younger, and so Troy out that we only had each other to rely on. You know what I'm saying? We had each other's back. We moved quite a bit when we were younger. So we, you know, a lot of people say, how do you make it work? You know, how did you guys make it work for all those years, for 32 years? You know, how did you make it work being a family business? Because family businesses most of the time don't succeed.
Right.
And it just went back to a very young age where we relied on each other. You know, heck, our first business was a yo-yo business, a yo-yo repair business. Put it that way.
Yo-yo repair.
7 years old,
How to
7 and
string a
9.
yo-yo.
we fixed yo-yos, and then after we fixed it, we got enough money to buy yo-yos. So we were the neighborhood yo-yo repair shop, and we sold as well as retail outlet out of our garage. So we've always been, you know, together, and we've always, you know, entrepreneurship was, we didn't have an option. That was our, you know, that was plan B, was
Right.
to rely on ourselves. And but as far as schooling goes, Troy was a better student than I was, I think. I was just enough to stay eligible, and then college was the same thing, you know.
Besides staying eligible and baseball, what was your major?
Small business administration.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and my brother's was finance.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we ran the business. You know, he took care of the finance side of it, and I took care of new product development, marketing, and events. I had the fun side.
Right.
Right, for sure.
So when did you guys when do you think were the big growth periods?
Man, you know, and that's one thing we really tried to do, Rich, is we tried to control our growth. And I think, and which is, you know, easy to say, we didn't do SEMA for years. We went, but we didn't actually exhibit because we were trying to take care of the customers we had. And that was the mail order customers, Les Schwab, and some smaller accounts. And I think the growth period hit where we went, holy cow, probably 2000. You know, about 10 years into it. Now Shane, which, you know, we'll get back to Shane, but Shane, he was our third employee that we hired.
Okay. And
so we and we'll circle back to him later. But and then the growth was, I have to say, about, I want to say about 2000. And then it just started really, you know, we started in a back of an old building where for Plaza Cycle used to be out in 35th South in Salt Lake City. We opened Tuff Country in the back of a pet store that was my dad owned. My dad owned the building. We had to rent from him, but it was literally, you know, 10 feet of pallet racking, 2 cubicles or desks we bought at some, you know, yard sale or something like that. Right. We had a propane heater. That was the heat. The air conditioning was to open the garage door. And then we moved out of that. We went, you know, we're growing. So we moved out of that, moved into another building. It was a 2-story building, another one in West Valley City. And it was probably 3,000 square feet. And we thought, man, we are big time now, buddy. We got 2 offices, real offices, and a shipping department, and we got a forklift. That was big. That was big news for us too. And then we're like, we were there for 2 years, and we grew out of it, and then we built a building in West Jordan, and that's when things really got, you know, started to really go.
And that was around 2000.
That was 2000, mid 2000, somewhere in there, and then we thought, we will never grow out of this building. There's no way we're going to grow out of this building. You know, we've got 6 offices, we've got a giant warehouse, we have a loading dock. I think we were in probably 15,000 square feet building. And we thought, this is it. This is awesome. And that lasted about 5 years. And wow. Then a building came up available behind us, directly behind us. So all we did was tear the fence down and move pallets into it out. And it took us a couple months, and that's the facility we're in today. And it's close to 60,000 square feet.
Is that including the 15,000?
Yeah. We're right about 65 when you add it all up.
Okay.
So it's a nice space, and then we thought we were never grow out of this place, and then 2007 it would be, Rich, just before 2008 hit. When everything went south with business, we were putting on 20,000 more square feet. We had it already approved at the city, and then the economy went in the toilet, and we scrapped the plan, but we're still in the same building today, and if we move out of this one, I don't know where else we're going to go. It's been a great ride, that's for sure.
So let's talk about what you just mentioned, and that was the economy drop in 2008. We all suffered in that. I mean, when by the time 2009 ended, I was ready to give it all up, and I had just met and gotten together with Shelley, and she really changed my view because I was ready to hang up We Rock. We Rock was going to be dead at the end of 2009, and I was over it. It was, our numbers were way down, everything. How did you guys get through all that?
I'm really proud to say we did not have to lay off anybody's employees. We had a few leave. We had to reduce some hours back then, and they left with our blessing. But what we did is we got very lean and mean, where we were maybe got happy. We were so busy we were subletting parts getting made, like cutting, simple as a sleeve. We were having somebody else do them, cutting sleeves for us for bushings, for release springs, and so we brought that back in house and cut our own sleeves and had our employees doing those, and that is when I truly found out how lean and mean you can get. We end up from that point on, from 2008 on, we got 12 turns a year out of our inventory. We turned our inventory every single month.
Wow.
And so we had to get very efficient. Lean and mean is the best way I can put it. We got very efficient. There's sometimes I didn't get a paycheck. Everybody else did, but my brother and I did not get a check sometimes. We had to, it was tough, man. And we were the same spot as you. It's like, man, we got to survive. If we can survive 2008 and climb back out of this hole, we're going to be some tough dudes. And there's going to be a lot of people leave. There's a lot of people that aren't going to make it. We weren't leveraged. So not being leveraged, that helped a ton. So we were not heavily leveraged at all. We got very efficient and just climbed back out of it and just kept fighting and clawing and getting better. We went back then, heavy 2008, 2009 is when we were making the IFS kits with the big knuckles, right? And knuckles are expensive, the cast iron, and you got to pay for molds, and the kits were expensive. So we made a transition in product development and went back to upper control arms, which people are very popular now. But back then they weren't popular. But we went to upper control arms because, one, we could control them. We could control the manufacturing. We weren't relying on outside sources to make these big, giant, expensive knuckles. And the kit, is economic. It was like, when you're maybe selling a 406-inch independent Chevy suspension or a Ford, you're looking back then like $1,800, $1,700. And by doing these upper control arm kits, going down to 4-inch, you're looking at about $600. So the economic, it turned into, being smarter. So once we did that, everybody followed suit, which we understand happens. But we were able we were so well, one made in the USA, we were able to react really fast to be able to get, okay, this ain't working. Let's go to upper control arms and let's go to the smaller kits. People still wanted to lift their vehicle, but they didn't want to spend a couple $1,000s. They want to spend a couple hundred.
Right.
So we were able to, we call that supermarket shopping, if you will. If you want a steak, we got a steak. If you want, ramen noodles, we got ramen noodles too. It's up to you. But we didn't want to give that customer any wiggle room to not buy from us. If we've got them on the phone, or if they've called and we've got them on the phone, we're going to sell. We got what they want. We're going to sell them what they want. We're going to give them the choice. But we don't want to lose that sale, right? Because every sale is important. Every phone call is important. So that's how I think we were able to react and quickly in 2008, get lean and mean, get 12 turns a year out of our inventory. And I think that was our success. Was able to be able to react quickly, I guess.
Right. And the the guys the people that worked for you as they came on, there was some key individuals.
We've had some incredible employees. And I guess one thing that's great is we've had some long-standing employees. Shane, which was key to us. Shane was a professional baseball player. He played baseball at University of Utah, got drafted, and he was in spring training in 1980, late '89, I think it was. And he thought he was getting promoted to AAA. So his parents came out, getting ready to watch him go play at AAA baseball game at spring training, and he got called in by the coach and got released that day. Instead of getting called up, he got released. So
Ouch.
he called, yeah, right. So he was working for us during the summer times or wherever he could. He was just a young kid, and he said, he calls me up and he says, you always told me if I wanted a full-time job and baseball didn't work out, you'd give me a job. I said, yes, I did. And he said, you got a job for me? I said, do you need one? And he says, yeah. I said, then I got a job for you. He says, okay, I'm on my way. I'll be there tomorrow morning. I said, no. You just got released. You're in Arizona. Take your time. He was there the next morning.
Wow.
He left, and that told me a lot, right?
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Shane's last name is?
Shane Jones.
Okay.
Shane Jones, he came to us. He was our, utility, did everything, shipping, packaging, you name it, he did it. Wrenching, he did it all. And he formally went into, he rolled into operations. And so he was our director of operations here for all those years. And then he was very key to getting then. We got some young talent that these guys are heavy Toyota guys. And I think you know them, Rich. It's the Scott and Zach Sweeneys.
Yes.
They call them the Sweeney brothers. And they've been with us, both of them, since they were 15 years old. They joined us and they do a lot of our product development. They work off of SolidWorks, hard software, and they do our product development. They're fantastic. And they've been with us forever, 20 plus years. My kids, my son, obviously he's been with the company since he was born, one way or the other. He was packaging shock boots when he was like 4 or 5 years old.
Perfect.
Now he runs keep him young, and he does e-commerce side for us, and so we've had a lot of key people. We've had some really good key people that when we sold to private equity, we lost them, and that was heartbreaking. And so, but it's been a lot of good people. We've been real fortunate, and you treat people right, and they'll give you your all. And we've been really fortunate in having key employees come and not leave. So then that stays team environment, very much team environment, and always has been.
Right. I've had a lot of friends over the years that have gone the way of private equity.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them whatsoever.
Yep.
That dangling carrot, when it's CARAT,
Yep.
is hard to pass up. I understand that. I've had others that have said, no, I'm staying true.
Yep.
And it's that private equity stuff it's starting to go away. I mean, the whole 4-wheel parts thing.
Yes.
Now DPI. The thing with Polaris and everything that they had, and everything that's going on. What was that? How did they approach that? Did you guys approach them, or did they approach you guys?
Yeah, just kind of brief, rundown. We've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
My brother and I, we're getting up there in age, and what I don't do very well is idle. I don't sit well. I always have to be moving. But we started getting to the point where I've had several surgeries, and a lot of it from off-road racing. Loved it, played hard, but I'm paying for it. So, my brother was kind of getting to the point where we didn't never seeked anybody out. We never seeked and went, hey, we were always seeked out. And early on, we were some companies talked to us, and a lot of 2008, 2009 people were coming out of the woodworks trying to buy you, right? Because that's when they say you make the most money is when the economy's down. But we just didn't. Nothing seemed right, just nothing seemed right, and we weren't seeking it, and so this particular deal came across, and I've been working, sometimes 7 days a week. We worked hard. We worked lots of hours, and there's days that when we were running the retail store up in Ogden, if it snowed or the blizzard, we stayed there. We had a couch in the back. We sleep there. So we worked our fingers to the bones, if you will, and we thought, well, maybe it's time to slow down. Maybe it's time to listen to more people that are that are coming out of the woodwork, so they're wanting to buy, and they contacted us, and I said, well, let's listen, and you're right. A lot of people say no right off the bat, and I was to the point where I've been doing it 30 plus years. Maybe let's listen. It doesn't cost us a thing to listen, right? So when they approached us, it was at SEMA, believe it or not. I want to say 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2018. And it was quite like they court you at first. It's kind of like a dating, and this and that. And we could do this, and we got all these other companies and all the synergies, and the other thing that we were looking at for is our employees and our families, right? And, it's a family business, and I have cousins and kids and nieces and nephews, and we are truly a family-owned business, and so it had to be right for them too, or we weren't going to do it. If you're going to move us, we ain't going anywhere. Where this place is staying right where it's at. So we had a lot of things that were important to us, and then it was evolved around basically family and friends, and so we listened some more, and then they started the due diligence process, which my brother handled because it was finance side, and it just came to a point where I'm trying to think, we're flying back from somewhere, and they offered us an LOI, which is a letter of intent, and we looked at each other, and we got off the plane, and we had known that the offer had been submitted while we were in the air, and so we went into the sky room, if you will, the Delta sky room, and opened it up and took a look at the number, and we kind of looked at each other and said, okay, listen, it's the right time. We felt like it was the right time because we thought we were, towards the end of our career. We thought it was a good fit. And so, after, many days and talking and talking with my dad and getting his gut feeling, and Troy and I, we decided to move forward. And, the rest is history. That was April 3rd, 2019 is when we sold.
Right.
So it's been a crazy ride since then. So when you sell a company, you have to you stay on for a year for transitional period, right?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, and so we did. We signed a contract that kept us on for a year to help transition and consult and whatnot. And so we after that year was up, they said, we would truly like to keep you. And that first year was good. It was okay. And we said, okay. And they offered me the GM job for all 12 brands. So I was the general manager of 12 brands. So I went from owning and managing two companies to taking care of 12 and overseeing 12. And so we stayed on, and we started seeing things happen, and we're head scratchers at times, I guess. And, I'm like you, there's some good private equity companies out there, and there's some that's not so good. And there's some that are really supportive and focused, and engaged, and there's some that's not. And we've seen what's happened to a lot of them out there. Like you mentioned, it's been it's been sad to see, right? It's been really, it's been sad.
Family-run businesses and names are going to disappear.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, they buy you because you are a well-oiled machine. You're profitable. You have value, and then and I guess they get away from your core values, and that's what I guess it's because they get big and they lose their focus. And one thing I've always learned is nobody can run your business like you, right? And so you have to be there, you have to be engaged, and some things became less important to them, if you will. And that was very important to us.
The bean counters get involved.
It comes down to a bottom line, brother. You're exactly right. It comes down to you could go past everything else, go right to the bottom, and it's the bottom line. And I guess they don't understand. They're not connected, right? They have no connection. They have to what's going on. And the bottom line becomes what's the most important, and sometimes that's not the most important. Sometimes it's engaging and getting it. Not sometimes, it is important to be involved and every single day be engaged and know what's going on and going to events. And the first thing that happens when things get slow, they start cutting events, right? That's the cheapest thing, the easiest thing to do. And then after that, it's wages, right? Or it's employees. So it got really disheartening there at the end, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they start cutting that stuff, and then it starts affecting. They think it's going to increase the bottom line, and it does until people forget about you.
Yeah,
and it's maybe not forget about you, but somebody else isn't cutting those things, so
Yep.
they get the share, especially in a digital age. And it's
100%.
One thing I've learned about off-road since I got involved in it in 82, 83 was that it was, it's about the people that are hanging around the campfire.
100%.
It's about the people who you trust, who you like, and have like values, and that all went away. I mean, it's with that. I mean, look at it in the media side of it, print magazine.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's just now us with For Low and Crawl Magazine and John Herrick. That's pretty much it.
Yep, that's it.
And everybody else, there's some great guys out there, and they're all struggling to try to fit, into the digital age now, where print is still viable, and
It's 100%
amazing.
viable.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree. People want that touchy feely, right? That print is 100% viable.
Right.
And you're right.
That's why shows are important, because people want to touch the product.
Yes, tangible, right?
They want to smell the rubber. They want to see how the welds are done. They want, they want to see how things move and flex, not just look at it online.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I've seen so many. I mean, the magazines were, you've been around longer than I have, Rich. And you've seen, how the magazines were king, right? And you still see the value. You still see the value. I see it too. But I see these people like Chris Corbett, and he's with Nitto now, but he was with the magazines for all those years. But you hit the nail right on the head. It's the people that you surround yourself with. At the campfire, up wheeling, at the desert, that's how we got involved with Little and Trail Hero. He was friends with the Sweeneys. He knew the Sweeney boys, and they came to one day and said, "Hey, this guy is so cool." And his dad's he told me, "Give me your background on you and all you've done." And he said, "He's starting this new event, and he just needs some support, from the industry people." And he said, "We have the big total home and trailer, which we still do." He said, "I talked to Rich, and he said, I'd really appreciate it if you could come down and bring the big rig down with you." And I really think it was the first year, Rich, and we did because of a conversation that somebody had with my people, the people that I knew, and gave value and told me how they had knew what you had done and know that Little could do the same, and that's how that whole relationship started. It was people.
Yep.
Okay. Out of the events and people, and that's the first thing that they cut. I mean, it's easy to they don't see the value in it. And I'm like, we would go sell T-shirts at cost, at these events, get your name out there, and every year now, just for instance, like at Jeep Safari, and when we've been doing that since 30 plus years, and we every year we had a new T-shirt, and people would come up and they knew it was cheap, but it had the year on it, and it had a different logo on it, or different saying or whatever on it, and they just come buy it every year because they bought the year before, the year before, the year before. And it's just connection with people. It's invaluable.
Right.
And they don't get that.
Selling a T-shirt or giving away a business card, which means more. A business card sits on somebody's desk or in their card file, whatever. T-shirts get worn.
It's a billboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and I don't want to begrudge any of the people. It's just two different ways of thinking: people person entrepreneurship, or bottom line. And it got at the end. The company went into what's called a receivership, and that's when the bank came in, and that's when they started selling companies, and we got to the point where I knew I knew what to do. I've been doing it a long time. I was wore out. I was tired. Um, and Shane came to. I was in the middle of transitioning HCR, which is in Cedar City, and I was down there for like doing weeks at a time because I was one of my responsibilities. And they were having people look at them and doing due diligence, and so I was down there, and we had a phone call with the powers to be, and they said, well, we've had a lot of people looking at Tuff Country, this and that and the other, and some people were going to move it. They wanted to buy it and move it. They wanted to, another private equity company, and I'm just I'm on this. It's a Teams call, of course. And I'm just shaking my head, going, okay. And Shane was on the same call. So to back up, Shane was our director of operations here for Tuff Country. Then a year after we sold, the corporate office and seen the value of him, and he's just a bulldog go-getter. So they hired him in Phoenix. So he picked his family up and moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and became the director of operations of all the facilities, all the companies. Okay. So he was on the same phone call as me, and my wife happened to be down there with me, because I've been spending a lot of time on the road. So she happened to be down there with me. Biggest support thing I've ever. My wife is by far the reason I'm still back in the business, if you will.
Right.
So Shane calls me. I'm in the hotel room. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm in a bad spot, bad place, and he was, like I said, he heard the same things I heard. I told my wife about what was going on, and possibly moving it here or another private equity company. And Shane calls me, says, you know what? He goes, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I said, Shane, I'm not thinking straight right now, man. I'm overloaded, and I've got no bandwidth left. I'm done. He says, let's buy it back. And I went, ugh. Shane, I'd love to, dude. I said, but you give me some time. Okay, let me talk it over with my wife. He goes, let's make him an offer. He goes, you and I, we can do this. We know what to do and not. We certainly know what not to do, right? And I said, yeah, we know that. We know what not to do for sure. And I got off the phone, talked with my wife, and I slept on it. And the next morning, it was just like I had a new life. I had juice. I was like, you know what? No, we're buying it back. We're buying it back. And I've, just the last couple of years, I just didn't have the fight in me, which was sad for me because I got a lot of fight in me, and I just felt down, run down with what was going on around us. And so I told him, I said, all right, let's do it. Let's make an offer. And I went from cleaning my desk out, cleaning my office out, 24 hours later with the fight that I've never had since I was, 20 years old again. And he made an offer. It was the longest 48 hours of my life because it was 48 hour span before they replied, and long story short, they accepted the offer, and then the work started. We had to reboot this thing, and and it's a lot of work. You got to start with all new business license, EIN numbers, and employees, and keeping who you're going to keep, and they had kind of gutted the place anyways, but we've been able to. We did it, and it officially happened about 10 days ago. We wanted everything lined up before we sent that press release out that you were so kind to read, and you and your son shared it, and it's gone absolutely crazy. And the support from the industry people, like I told you earlier, I think it's become hey, we're buying it back, and we're excited we can do this, to a movement. I mean, I've had people. Incredible support, and they're just fed up with private equity, and it's been really encouraging, and we're here for the fight and ready to do it. So,
it was interesting because I remember when the Four Wheel Parts was buying everything up,
yeah,
and then all that was happening, and then there was others going on, and then all of a sudden. I remember in Moab, a bunch of guys, business owners all together, and all of a sudden, what I call Daystar ended up kind of bringing all these companies in a
Yes.
short period of time. And I was like, wow, this one might work.
Yeah.
And then it didn't, and,
It didn't. Yeah.
and I was, that was the one I thought might, because I thought the companies were good. At least it seemed the people behind it to begin with were right, but all of a sudden they were gone. And It was like, wow, okay. That one was a blindside.
It really was. And that's why you see what I saw. I'm looking at these companies that they already acquired. And I'm looking at the ones that, they're telling me who they're looking at and inquiring. I'm like, this is the right fit. Okay. This is the good. And that's why we were sold on it. That's why we, and it was aligned with some great companies, Nitro and Toy Tech and Daystar and Performance Accessories and Voodoo. There was some quality brands. And at first we were marketing correctly, and and it worked. And Trent McGee, I don't know if you know who Trent McGee is.
Trent and I are good friends.
Good dude. And we were trying to hire him because to into marketing. And he's a quality dude. I've known him from the magazines. We were. Tuff Country was the suspension sponsor for Top Truck Challenge and Ultimate Adventure and Diesel Challenge and all those. And he was always involved in those. We were always involved with them. So we, became really good friends, industry friends. And so I tried to hire him. And I was in here at Tuff Country, and he's a Phoenix guy, and so they were hiring him there. Had the interview with the CFO and the CEO, and then he calls me afterwards. He says, "What do you think, Kelly?" And I said, "Well, we talked." And I said, it's some good brands and some good people, and I said, "What do you think, Trent?" And he says, "Kelly, this is one thing I've learned and I've heard over the years. Private equity." He said, "When it's good, it's good, but when it's bad, it's bad." And that really resonated with me, especially as time went on, right? And he hit the nail on the head. He really did. And smart guy. And I always remember that comment. It stuck with me a long time.
Yeah, he's gone through that a number of times.
Yeah.
The last time, of course, with the magazine business and Ultimate Adventure and everything, and and also I believe with Superlift and that
he did.
Back in those
You're
days.
exactly right. Yep.
And I know that We Rock was purchased at one point.
Yeah.
And we were held for like 6 months, and we were part of another, and they were different businesses because they were trying to create a recreation brand. And it was, there was a guy that was producing, they were basically surfboards with little
wheels
jet
on, right?
jet power motors on them, so
geez.
like a jacuzzi jet, like a jet boat is. And then there was the little off-road go-kart type things.
Yep. I remember those.
And then it was us as the competitive side that we were going to put together, events to promote all of these different types of items. And then one guy that was part of the group, and there was like 5 or 6 different companies involved, screwed over the major investor because the guy goes, "Okay, I want 10 of these carts," and the guy never delivered, took the money and never delivered.
Oh boy.
And so the guy backed out of the whole deal. They had cleared a lot of debt for me, and then they turned around and just handed me the company back.
Oh man, I love it. Good for you.
And it was like, okay, that was all before the downturn. And
wow.
It was that 6 months saved it, because I had been screwed by a guy that I was bringing in as a partner, and he took me for over 120 grand in cash, and that was all supposed to go to drivers. So it was a rough time, and got out of it, got clean, got things whole. But then the economy hit, and I was like, all right, I'm just so over this shit. You know,
I'm
it
with
would
you, man.
just, it wouldn't stop. I mean,
Yeah.
before I did my first event was 9/11.
God.
And here I am getting ready to put on my first event, and that was in November, and 9/11 hits. And I'm thinking, here we go. Same thing
Yeah.
happened when I owned a landscape company, had all these employees, and we got hit with the first Desert Storm. And,
Gosh.
you know,
Yeah.
there was a big recession. It was a depression here in California, especially if you were a landscaper, because we had a drought going on as well. And I
Yeah.
thought, man, I'm getting smacked every time I
Every
get
time we
something
turn
going.
around.
And, you know, that's all I could think about. And then, you know, then in 2009, like I said, met Shelly, and she was retiring in 2011 and convinced me, hey, let me help you. And I said, you don't want to help this mess. This mess is so beyond. But she was a, you know, chief financial officer for a $44 million company, and was doing, you know, she understood what it took. So we went
Yeah.
lean and mean, you know, got whole, and, you know, we're still cranking it out,
It's awesome.
and brought a partner in to run it so I can kind of step back and kind of retire from all the physical labor. And it's worked out well for us. And it worked out well for rock crawling as well, you know, for competitive
100%. I
rock
mean,
crawling.
look what you've done. It's just crazy, and that's a great story. It's just perseverance. You know, there's this. You get knocked down, you got to get back up, and
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, it's easy. Quitting's easy, man. Quitting's so easy, you know. And you know, my saying to my employees and myself is, hey, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And just remember that, you guys. Just the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get, and that just comes with perseverance. And you're like your story. I mean, every time you got on top, you got knocked back down, and then it's just okay. All right, what quitting's easy. I can't do that. And that's a great story. And yeah, having a you know a supportive wife next to you sure makes things easy, doesn't it, man?
A supportive and smart one.
Yeah, I both. I hear you. Yeah, that's a great story. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for it, and you know, and here we are. We 5 years later. I thought, you know, here we are, and I couldn't be any happier. And I'm happy for our employees and the family, and we're, you know, we're getting back. We're doing what we do, developing good products and affordable products made in the USA. And I have all the faith in the world with my group and the team, and um, yeah, it's really fun. Fun's the word. Like I said, I've never had this much energy. You know, I'm back at it, and I'm right in the middle of the fight. And
That's
so
awesome.
it's fun. Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
So
And support from you guys and the industry has been overwhelming
cool.
for sure.
And so what's on the horizon? What do you guys? What's the first call to action that you guys need to get straight? And where are you headed?
You bet. Yeah, we got to get whole, right? We got to. It was for the last 5 or 6 months. It was very. The money just wasn't there, so we're getting whole again. You know, we got some pretty good working capital, but it takes time to, when you've got a machine like that is this big and this strong and powerful, and it just stops, and it takes a while to get, you know, to get the machine back up and running, and putting coal back in the engine, if you will. You know, you got to get it moving again, and that was the first thing that you know, that we're doing right now. You know, setting up all the new customers and all the suppliers and vendors, and getting whole. And the great thing about it is we've got this, you know, we've got support. The people, you know, we treated people so good, you know, for a very long time, and they trust who's back in charge again. They didn't, you know, they lost their faith for a while.
Right.
Just like all these companies we've had, you know, Terraflex and Ready Lift and, you know, Wheel Pros. I could go on forever. And they you know, we've got their faith, we got their loyalty, and but we got to produce product. We got to get product back out the door, and that's the biggest thing, is getting whole and getting the supply chain back up to where it was at, and what we're used to, and what our customers, quite frankly, are used to. You know, and then from there it's back to your when the ride home from Cedar City, when I do, we were going to, you know, attempt to buy the company back. The first text I sent out was to your son, and it was during well, and I kept it under, because it was that weekend was Trail Hero,
Right.
and I said, listen, I know it was one of your first, manufacturers, and but gone away the last couple of years. And he just an incredible kid, and he knew why, and he understood it, and was but always supportive, and he was. And I said, you can't tell anybody. It's not 100%, but this is what we're doing, and I said, I'm not going to be at Trail Hero this year, but I'm going to be there next year. And he said, I got a spot for you. So
Awesome.
we're going to get back to events, is I guess what I'm getting at. A long story short, we're getting back to the grassroots, supporting the off-road community, and getting back to being out in people's faces, see and be seen, and that's highly important, very important to us. And then just going back to innovative new product development and getting, we lost a year, if you will. We haven't been on top of. Tuff Country was always so good at being, first to market, and we haven't been first to market. So that's another thing that's very important to us, is getting back to, getting out in people's face and being first to market, and then just keep growing the business again and growing people.
Good.
So that's kind of the plan going forward. We're very excited about it.
Excellent.
Yes.
I see a bright future. I really do. I think that that you're going to be, one of the first of many, or that first wave of getting back to it. And whether it's, like yourself is the one of the founding partners bringing it back, or somebody that was, like some of the other companies where maybe it was a key employee that decided to step up and take it over. I think we're going to see that more and more, and especially now with the way the market is just cranking today, because of the election yesterday.
100%.
So that's a great sign, and so hopefully we'll get some of our public lands back. And, or at least keep them from going away. So, we're a solid place to still recreate, which always is good for sales.
100%, and I appreciate your kind words. And I think you're spot on. I think we're going to see a movement of people saying, okay, enough's enough. All right. And people, seeing what's happened out there with these large companies buying all these other companies up. And I think that, I think you're right. I think you're spot on, Rich. And we couldn't appreciate your support enough. Thanks, Lee, for reaching out and the support and your people. And it means a lot to us here at Tuff Country. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think there's those big companies like, Bezos and Amazon that have been screwing over the small business for so long. And that it's time for the small business resurgence, Main Street over Wall Street.
100%. It's time to stand up. It is. Yeah. It is time to stand up it's correct. The Amazon's not going to know if you don't buy a lift kit from them tomorrow, but the small companies will, right? We'll know because it's important to us. And so, yeah, I agree with you. It's time to get back to doing the right thing and get this train back on the track and go for it.
Well, great. Hey, Kelly, anything that we can do on our end to help you along the way, let me know. Reach out. We're, it's a rising tide lifts all ships,
100%. Yeah. And I certainly appreciate that. And I agree with you. And thank you so much for the support. And we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
All right. Kelly, you take care. Great story. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.